Okay, so I've been tagged by Mark, Dr. Lactobacillus Prime, and the questions that he's asking as part of this tag, so he's tagged 4 people, amongst which I'm one of them. So the first question is, what game in your collection would you like to have boxed and complete? Now, by that, if the question is any game that you could have boxed and complete, it would be Mega Turrican. I really liked that game back in the day, and it wasn't that expensive, but now it's really expensive, and you know, it's surprising because I can understand why Super Turrican would be expensive in the sequel, because Super Nintendo games are cardboard, but the Mega Drive one's really expensive, and I really don't get why, unless it just wasn't manufactured in, you know, that many quantities. But it'd be nice just to have that on the shelf and play it, but I don't have that unboxed. So if we take it as what game do you already own unboxed that you'd like boxed, is a tricky one, because I tend not to really go for box games if they cost significantly more. So the Mega Drive games, there's not really much of a difference between boxed and unboxed, because most of them are still in the boxes. Manuals I'm not fussed about. But with the Super Nintendo, I had to think about this, and my favourite game on the machine is Super Mario World. And I would consider that pretty much perfect. So if I was going to have the perfect game, perfect box, Super Mario World. That's a fairly easy one. What is your favourite potato chip flavour? So my favourite crisp flavour is pickled onion, and the favourite crisps are Space Raiders. I was going to say Space Invaders then, video games on the brain. Space Raiders pickled onion. So this is a packet that I've had earlier. I got these from the supermarket, so I couldn't resist, got home and had a packet. I don't know if you can get these outside the UK, but these have been around since I was a kid in the 80s, and they used to be about 10p. I think they're still 10p now. I don't buy them individually, I tend to buy them as a pack for £1, which is brilliant. But they're not as bad for you as they could be, and they're cheap, so you can have twice as many without feeling guilty, and they taste really good too. They're not too, they're very starchy, but they're not too strongly tasting or bitter or anything like that, or too hot or chilled or anything. They're just good. So yeah, Space Raiders. Could eat them all day. Right, so the third question is, what is the best vacation you've ever had? So I'm not going to list places I've kind of been professionally. I'll just mention vacation, like holiday vacation places in the world. And my favourite one would be Canada. So my family went there with some friends of ours in 1995, and we rented 2 caravans and went from Calgary all the way across the Rocky Mountains to Vancouver. And that was fantastic, because you get to see the cities. And in 1995, I'd say the US and Canada were kind of futuristic in a way, seeing skyscrapers and things like that. In the UK, we didn't really have that quite so much, so it seemed very, I don't know, very much like what you'd see on the TV. But yeah, that was impressive. And then driving across the Rocky Mountains is something else entirely. It was just seeing the natural environment, and it's almost like going camping, because we stayed at campsites and, you know, parked the caravan up, and it's different than going on a holiday where you're in a hotel, and just seeing the environment and the nature, and getting to go to some of the reservations where, you know, you get the Native Americans and all their history and culture, and, you know, people quite willing to tell you the histories and things like that, and stories. So yeah, it's really good. Glaciers and whatnot. Yeah, I could talk all day about that. So yeah, Canada. Where would you like to go? Okay, there's a few places. I'd like to go to Iceland. Well, Mark did a video on that not so long ago. I think he linked that to this tag. The environment there is brilliant. If you've ever watched Prometheus, the beginning, the few shots, not the Isle of Skye, but the ones with the waterfall and the alien that takes the stuff. Anyway, all there, that's all very kind of primordial, and yeah, Iceland, it just seems otherworldly. And they've got odd things like you can go to a restaurant and get half a sheep's head, which is kind of cool. I saw that in a documentary. I don't know if I'd bored of that, but yeah, I like the idea. Just out of oddness. So where else? I'd like to go to Japan for their culture, and you know, if you watch the channel, I like Japan. I think they've got some really good culture there, and you know, their history is interesting, and the people and their societies. You know, be nice to see, you know, up front, and the language as well. I'm trying to learn badly. It'd be nice to be able to try a bit of that out. But they've also got some great, you know, natural environment too. So where else? I'd like to go to New Zealand someday. Lord of the Rings looks great in that environment, but I'm sure that's just scratching the surface. So probably the last one, and I have been here before, is the Netherlands. So I've got some great friends from over there who've been kind enough to come to the UK, so it only seems fair to return the favour and one day go and, you know, see some great friends over there. Right, so that's it. So I've got to name 3 people. So the 3 people that I'll name are firstly TuDave, Retro Rewind. That's a difficult one to say. And the second one is Sean Retroballz. And third one is, to complete the Minecraft family, is Zombie Andy stroke SynthMonkey. Different names for the same person, just like TuDave. So yeah, some great friends who I'd like to nominate as part of this tag. So I look forward to seeing what your responses are.